So Warner Brothers Animation have just released the first part of their closing trilogy to the Tomorrowverse sequence of movies. This is Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. And as you can imagine, for if you're a comic book nerd, it does kind of take huge inspiration from the Crisis on Infinite Earths stories that have ran in comic books in various iterations, since way back when. It doesn't feel that fresh to me anymore, to be honest. It's been done that many times, but it's the whole multiverse thing. It's let's bring in things from different worlds and crisscross stories and different variations on characters and whatnot. This is the first part. As I say, it's part of a trilogy. If you're not familiar with the Tomorrowverse, then I'm talking to someone who's... It's probably pointless watching this film, to be honest, until you've seen all the other ones. But yeah, there's been well over 50 DC animated movies in the DC animated original movies line, and they started a continuity like kind of halfway through those that became like a whole sequence of films that ended, and then they did a whole thing with Flash going back in time, completely restarting the universe, and that became the Tomorrowverse, of which there are 10 movies in total. That's when you include the next 2 chapters of this trilogy. But yeah, just to give you a very quick overview, that's where you need to be at if watching this film. Otherwise, it's probably going to go slightly over your head. Now, being someone who's watched all of these movies and has been a staunch follower of the DC, the direct-to-DVD DC animated movies, I will say that this film does get confusing, even for me. So it follows Flash primarily. Flash is the main character throughout the story, and he's jumping through time and kind of figuring out that, okay, something really bad is happening. There's a wave of some sort, a ripple that is basically bursting all the way through the multiverse, destroying entire universes. And if it isn't stopped, then every single universe in the multiverse could be wiped out. That's the basic gist of the plot, but like I say, even someone who's quite a seasoned veteran of these movies, it was still pretty hard to kind of follow. Sometimes I didn't quite know whether the Flash in each sequence knew who the Flash in other sequences was, and are these going to come together at some point and reveal something that it just wasn't quite clear. That being said, it's a pretty nippy adventure. It goes along at quite a pace. You never feel like the running time. This is the longest, or one of the longest, of the DC animated movie originals, but it never feels like it. There's a lot that happens. There's a lot of characters that are brought into this, and I'm willing to forgive some of the confusion that is caused, knowing that we've got another 2 films in this trilogy to come, which hopefully might clear up some of the stuff. And then once we have all 3, perhaps being able to watch them back to back on a second watch might clear up some of the confusion. But yeah, pacing wise, it's pretty on point. I just think that this story, as I alluded to at the start of this review, has been told many times. We had a variation on this in the Justice League animated series. We got, even in the first run of the DC animated original movies, we got Crisis on 2 Earths, I think it was called, where that was a very similar plot. And we had the evil Justice League from another universe coming into ours and trying to end it all. And we've recently had the Flash movie where we've had all the multiverse stuff there, which was kind of like a Crisis on Infinite Earth type deal. And we've had the TV version, the variation in the Arrowverse. So it really does feel like this particular plot already has kind of been done to death. When you look at how many stories they've done throughout, nearly 100 years of comic book history, it gets a little bit, just like seriously, like in the last 10 years we've had already like 4 or 5 kind of variations on this one particular story. I enjoyed this movie, I enjoyed the characters. I don't feel like the movies that came before this within the Tomorrowverse have done enough work to kind of earn this as a payoff. Like if you look at the series of movies that came before the Tomorrowverse, which I forget the name of, but that ended with this Justice League Dark Apocalypse War thing, and everything in that felt earned. All the characters that you felt like you knew them from following them over the course of however many movies it was that they were in. Whereas the Tomorrowverse movies, they've all, with the exception of like The Long Halloween and maybe the first film, Superman, Man of Tomorrow, the rest of them have all kind of felt a little bit, yeah, all right, cool standalone story, but it doesn't really feel connected to a larger universe. And here we're going, we're going to a Crisis on Infinite Earths, where you've got all the DC characters in there, and suddenly they're all popping up, but they've not really been established yet in the Tomorrowverse. So this is the first time we're seeing many of them. So you're kind of like, okay. I did really like the characterization of Barry Allen / The Flash. I liked all the voice talent in it. Matt Bowman was great as Barry Allen. Jensen Ackles is a particularly good Batman. Knowing that we're never going to get Kevin Conroy now, we've got to think, all right, well, who have we got that's doing about the best job we can get? And Jensen Ackles is doing a pretty damn fine job. If you like the animation that's been across the board on the Tomorrowverse movies, this is pretty much the same. They've had pretty much the same style since Man of Tomorrow with these movies. So if you didn't like it previously, you're not going to like it now. Good animation, great voice cast, engaging story, just a bit confusing and somewhat unearned with regards to the scale. But what about you? That's my thoughts on the movie, but what about you? What did you think of this new Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1? And are you looking forward to Parts 2 and 3? Leave your comments down in the comments section below. Let me know your thoughts on the film. Thank you for watching this review, and until next time, crack in.